You're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand, Narsimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an unprecedented situation that we are witnessing as a country because we have recorded the highest ever single day COVID positivity rate across the world. America had recorded somewhere around 3,000 cases in a day sometime in January, but we are looking at 3,15,000 cases in the last 24 hours, and it's not a small number. That also means that we are testing at an unprecedented level, but also some of the numbers, yes, this caseload is worrying, it should go down, but the recoveries are also happening. We are also recovering at a faster number, at a pace which has which has not been witnessed by many nations across the world. 1,34,000 1,34,54,880 people have recovered so far out of a total caseload of 1.59 crores nationally. The recovery rate nationally is at 84.6%. So that is also very, very high. The national mortality rate is further dropped down to 1.16%. It was 1.2% about 4 days ago. No COVID deaths in 9 states in the last 24 hours is also a reality. 60% of the active caseload is currently still limited to 5 states, and no daily COVID spike in 17 states. No spike in 17 states. This is something which is a huge aspect that we have to understand. We have to understand that this current situation, all about that we are witnessing as far as the COVID surge is concerned, oxygen shortage is concerned, is not because we don't have oxygen. It's a supply chain issue. It's a logistical issue. It is being addressed. But yes, the intermediate time till the time this entire supply chain is managed and it falls into place, that is a critical period. We have to keep our chin up. We have to keep our hopes high, and we have to help whenever and however we can. Now, amid a surge in cases, a Gurudwara in Noida Sector 18 has actually revived its special seva for COVID-affected people and their families. Home deliveries of food and special langars are just some of the activities. Listen in to this report by News 18 India's Nitish Kumar, where the Granthi there himself is saying they are supplying to 1,000 families at least.
कोरोना के बढ़ते प्रकोप के बीच हर एक तबके के लोग अपने अपने स्तर पर कोरोना पीड़ितों की मदद के लिए सामने आ रहे हैं। नोएडा के सेक्टर 18 में गुरुद्वारे में हम मौजूद हैं और यहां पर आप देख सकते हैं खाना पैक किया जा रहा है। ये खाना कोरोना पीड़ितों के लिए पैक किया जा रहा है और पैक किए जाने के बाद यहां जो गुरुद्वारे में वॉलंटियर्स हैं वो इस खाने को लेकर नोएडा में जगह जगह जहां भी लोग कोरोना पीड़ित हैं उनके घरों तक ये खाना पहुंचाया जाएगा।
Meanwhile, in Mumbai, Shahnawaz Sheikh and his team are working to supply and deliver oxygen cylinders to COVID-hit patients around the entire city. As demand is growing amid a surge in cases, they are checking the patient's report to confirm positivity. Then they're delivering the cylinders. They are also tuned in or aligned with the BMC's regular update, and they're monitoring that. They're also helping with oxygen ambulance supplies services and giving emergency numbers and handing out contacts for ambulance services for people who reach out to them. Cylinders can also be collected from their go down in Malad. Kudos to people like Shahnawaz who are stepping up. For nearly 350 COVID patients in South Delhi's Batra hospital, it was a brush with tragedy last night as they had oxygen left for just about 2 hours. So when the Delhi police team reached with supplies, there were no less than messiahs. And the Delhi police also ensuring that amid protection, the oxygen cylinder reached just in time. And we need similar efforts across states to help Delhi and the entire region around the national capital. Meanwhile, the central government has also created a green corridor for Oxygen Express in Uttar Pradesh from Lucknow to the Bokaro steel plant. It will not be stalled by any red signals, and this is already on its way. It's got a green light right through. Last update by Union Minister Piyush Goyal, this entire train, Oxygen Express train, had crossed Varanasi. Now, amid the acute oxygen crisis across the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also chairing a high-level meeting to tackle the situation. Provisions of supplying oxygen to states without any hindrance has been discussed. The Prime Minister emphasizing on the need to work rapidly to increase production of oxygen, boost the speed of distribution and implement innovative ways to provide oxygen support to health facilities. most importantly, it is the supply chain management. It is to redirect all the industrial oxygen towards medical supplies and especially to the critically affected regions and districts. Pallavi Ghosh, our senior editor politics, joining us. So the issue is to tackle the supply chain aspect, and we are also seeing instructions coming through from the centre, from the Home Ministry, that the oxygen tankers should be given a clear passage and they should not be stopped or blocked.
Yes, and there's been a lot of politics and lots of concerns also being raised over oxygen supply. Many state governments like Delhi have complained that, other states like Haryana are not helping them out. So that appeal has gone through. So the Prime Minister has sent out this very curt message that come what may, there should be no shortage of supply and all hands have to be on deck. That's the directive we gave to officials. And it was simultaneously as we had a release coming from the Home Ministry also, Anand, which has actually lifted all those interstate, inter-district restrictions, which means that supply of oxygen gets smoothened out. And, that's going to be the biggest concern which the government is trying to address now.
Well, and are there some concrete steps or directives that are going to be issued, Pallavi?
Yes, they have. In fact, the Prime Minister in his message with officials, in which the Niti Aayog chairperson was there, the Cabinet Secretary was there, and other senior officers of the nodal ministries, all of them were there. This is the point he made across to them, that you have to increase the supply and distribution, which means that, production has to be increased. Industrial units which have been using oxygen for industrial uses, that has to stop. It has to be diverted for medical facilities. Railways have also stepped up. Green corridors are being created so that there is a smooth passage of the oxygen cylinders, whichever states require the most, and even otherwise, so all hospitals.
Well, thanks for your inputs, Pallavi. We've got Sardar R.P. Singh of the BJP also with us. Sardar R.P. Singh, that, across Delhi, now we're given to understand reports coming in from Noida, Jewar, Greater Noida, and even Gurgaon, where hospitals are running out of oxygen, and each state is blaming the other for blocking the passage.
Well, I have no report of states blocking the oxygen, and since Prime Minister has assured, whatever quota that was demanded by state, that has been fulfilled, and whatever future quota they are asking for example, Delhi asked for 480 metric tons, it has been given. Now they have asked for enhanced quota, it will be given to them. I mean, no state will be left without
but the situation on ground, Sardar R.P. Singh, is that 480 metric tons has not reached, and the requirement is about 700 metric tons. Hospitals are turning back patients is not an encouraging sign. If Kailash Hospital in Noida is saying, I don't have oxygen, if hospitals in Greater Noida are saying we don't have oxygen, they are turning back patients, it's not a healthy sign. Especially when we are one of the largest producers of oxygen in the world.
Yes, so let me put it like this. Even if it's a UP government or Delhi government, or for that Haryana government or Rajasthan government or Punjab government, they have to work out their detailed program in advance. It's not till 17th of this month, Kejriwal was on record, please go through your records. He was saying that we have no shortage of oxygen. So they have to work it out in advance and let the center know, center will provide for it.
Yeah,
government is committed.
But you also realize that the situation currently, Sardar R.P. Singh, is unprecedented. The surge itself is unprecedented. India has reported 315,000 cases. Now, to say that nobody was aware that this could happen and nobody was prepared is not an easy thing to say. And oxygen is the last about 72 hours that we've been talking about the need for oxygen. My point is there a problem somewhere, or is it just a time lag to set the delivery and the logistics in place? Because there are lives at stake.
I appreciate. The only concern is because of logistics, because there is a certain spurt in the requirement and so a certain surge in the requirement, and the logistics and the supply system is lacking behind. I'm admitting that the supply system is lacking behind, and they're not able to meet a certain surge. There's no shortage. I mean, there's no shortage of oxygen. Let me tell you very bluntly, and I'll request through your channel for people to ensure that please use it whenever it's required and recommended by doctor. I mean, don't use it, start using it without recommendation of doctor.
No, but my point is what we are seeing, Sardar R.P. Singh, is black marketing of oxygen. It is rampant in Delhi. There are people who are hoarding oxygen, who are hoarding medicines. Where is the crackdown on them? And then why are oxygen tankers being blocked at state highways and because of lockdown and shutdown? Is this, does the person on ground, the district administration, the DM or those people, don't they realize that oxygen tankers should not be blocked? These are all simple aspects.
Well, can I answer that? I mean, I saw a report on your channel or other channel. The police has to escort the oxygen tanker because it was being blocked by the farmers, it has to come to KMP, and it was blocked at the KMP also, the highway also, the other highway also. So that I will request the political leaders who were supporting or seeking support of farmer agitation, they should request farmers to at least leave a passage for, especially the Singhu border is happening, they should leave a freeway for or corridor or oxygen corridor. I mean, at least they can do this much. For a medical emergency, they can do this much. But I've been told, it's other way happening. They're saying we'll get more farmers on the border now. Oh, why don't
whether
can complete? No, allow me another second. Why don't Captain Amjad Singh stand up and say, sorry, I'm requesting you to hold your agitation for a while. Don't carry another 50,000 people. They said we'll carry 2,000 buses. And on that same passage from Panipat, the oxygen cylinder, oxygen tanker has to come in those 2,000 buses.
But one of the undertakings taken by the Kisans, they are doing at their peril. Brijesh Kalapa is with us. Nobody is going to block critical supplies. Nobody is going to put lives at stake for their festival, for their protest, and that is something which everybody understands. The point right now is that why is everybody busy finger pointing rather than saying let's sort this out together, Brijesh Kalapa?
No, I think first of all, Anand, if one has to have some kind of a talking ground, then one has to first ask the question that were all these scenarios not foreseen by the government well in advance? Did we not know? Did the government of the day not know that the second wave is always so many times more serious and devastating than the first wave? And then what measures were taken prior to the fact that the second wave has already struck? Correct. I know you're acting, and what is happening now is well known to everybody, right? And Mr. Modi always acts when things when there is fire, then one has to douse the fire. Yeah. But ultimately, there has to be a certain sense of planning. You didn't have planning during demonetization. You didn't have planning during GST. You didn't have planning during the first round of the coronavirus. You didn't have planning during the second. So I think, is it something which citizens have to do? They have to plan on behalf of government, or government has absolutely no owner.
So I hope these are questions which are being asked of the state governments also, individual state governments also, in terms of their preparedness, along with asking the centre too, because everybody at all levels are
centralized. Everything now is centralized. Everything is being decided at the center. Right?
My simple
top-down policy. It's not a.
Sir, Jan 21, 7th of Jan 2021, 6:22 p.m. Union Health Secretary is written to Maharashtra, Kerala, Chhattisgarh and West Bengal. States urged to take prompt steps to keep a strict vigil to curb recent spike in COVID cases. States advised against any laxity because it may squander the results that have been gained so far. Centre writing to states witnessing spike in daily new cases, there could be a second wave in the offing 21st February 2021. Again, the same states including Punjab, there is Madhya Pradesh, there is Chhattisgarh, there is Maharashtra, there is Assam, and there is also concerned race with Delhi. No, not just that. I'm just saying Kerala, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, irrespective of my point is, sir, my point is, Brijesh Kalapa, irrespective of which political disposition, irrespective of any political party, states, administration, everybody, sir, should have been aware of this wave, and everybody has been caught on the wrong foot, and it is people's lives are at stake. That's what I am trying to say, sir. It is clear, sir. Let us not, and even all of us, sir, individual, Sardar RP Singh is there, let him speak. I am only going to say this to both of you are senior political leaders. My simple position has been always, and it is unequivocal, we are all individually also responsible because we were careless. We have all individually responsible because
government of India has
no, sir, all of us, sir, all of us. No, sir, the government is responsible. The centre is responsible. Sir, the centre is responsible. Centre is responsible. States are responsible. Every political person is responsible because from Rahul Gandhi to Mamata Banerjee to Amit Shah to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, everybody was conducting rallies. Everybody was out there amongst the people. Nobody looked at the COVID spike till the 6th of April, but the everybody started looking at the COVID spike and political rallies after the 6th of April. So, sir, the reality is everybody was lax. Nobody thought that it is going to be so big. Everybody talked about it. Everybody brushed it aside. But the fact is now, what are we doing?
Because he's the Prime Minister of the country,
Sir,
not the Prime Minister of the country.
nobody was lying. Nobody is lying. But everybody cannot point fingers and absolve themselves of blame. Everybody has to say we are all to blame. That is my position. Now, Sardar RP Singh, my point is, the allegation is that the centre was controlling everything. The centre is trying to issue the directives, so the centre should be taken, should be liable, responsible for this crux, this crunch that we are facing right now. Oxygen, remdesivir, and vaccines, everything.
Okay, Anand, let's understand why this shortage of or why this problem in the oxygen or remdesivir or whatever. Because number has gone up, and while the numbers have gone up, that's not happening in Bengal. It's not happening because of Bengal election. Because Bengal election will not affect Punjab, Delhi, and Maharashtra and Haryana. It's happening because Mahapanchayats were held in Rajasthan also. Mahapanchayats were held in Haryana and UP also. I'm blaming all the government. Sorry, Mahapanchayat was held by Mr. Kejriwal in Punjab also. And Mr. Takayat was riding Congress tractor also. Priyanka Vadra was going into each Mahapanchayat also. And they were all supporting the farmers. I'm again repeating, there are 50,000 farmers on the Delhi border coming to on 2,000 buses. From where you will get that truck which has to come from Panipat to Delhi full of oxygen? How do we get that?
Sir, I'll tell you what. Can political parties rise up beyond trying to say, आपने रैली किया, आपने पंचायत की, आपने कुंभ किया, आपने ये किया, आपने वो किया, सबने सब किया, सर, सब मानने को तैयार हैं. अब आप मुझे बताइए सोल्यूशन क्या है? उस व्यक्ति के पास सोल्यूशन क्या है जिसके पास आज उस डॉक्टर के पास सोल्यूशन क्या है? Who's crying because he's saying I have to send back patient? मेरे पास नहीं है भाई. उस डॉक्टर के पास, उस हॉस्पिटल के पास सोल्यूशन क्या है जो कह रहे हैं कि भाई हमको हमारे पेशेंट्स को शिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा? उस माँ के पास, उस बेटे के पास क्या सोल्यूशन है जिसको कहा जा रहा है तुम घर पे जाओ क्योंकि मेरे पास ऑक्सीजन नहीं है? उस ग्रैंड चाइल्ड के पास क्या ऑप्शन है? आप मुझे ये बताइए. बिकॉज योर पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, योर लीडर्स, योर पीपल इन पावर, योर पीपल इन पोजिशन, प्लीज टेल मी व्हाट्स द ऑप्शन टू दैट granddaughter whose grandfather is dead because there is no oxygen, sir.
Sir, right from 2 months old to 65-year-old are suffering from COVID in my family, personal family, and we are trying to work out with them, each one of them with them without taking them to hospital. But that's not the issue. Issue is that we know that we have limited resources. We have to work within those limited resources, and we have to jack up our resources. This surge which has come was not expected that this will come at this level. State governments have made aware. Health is a state subject, and whatever support they need from center, that will be given to the states. We are assuring that, and we are still saying that please plan in advance. Don't say in 2 days in advance. 17th, you say everything is good. 19th, you say,
sir, because nobody knows the infection rate is going to spike like this, because everybody forgets that COVID as this virus manifests anywhere between 5 to 8 days, 5 to 9 days, and that's what happens, and nobody is expected. It is unprecedented everywhere. Today it is Maharashtra, and today it is Delhi, and today it is the neighboring regions. Tomorrow it could be Karnataka. Tomorrow it could be Chhattisgarh. Tomorrow it could be Uttarakhand. Any place could happen. Kumbh, and everybody is going back, and in about 8 or 10 days we will see if there is a super spreader event because of Kumbh. We don't know. Bengal, nobody is testing in Bengal. Testing is not happening in Bengal. So unless we test, we will not know. Majority of the people today, a Trinamool Congress candidate is right now in the ICU, even as the 6th phase of elections are happening, sir, because the Kajal Sinha has got COVID. So it is there everywhere, but everybody turned a blind eye. That's the reality. Now I'm asking you, Brijesh Kalapa, is it possible, rather than saying tu meme, can we find a solution together, sir? Can we work together? Is it possible? Is what I'm asking you, sir.
See, it is certainly possible. And we have had Mr. Nehru, who had Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, who was from the Jansang, as a minister. It's certainly possible, but I think the Prime Minister has to have a large heart, but he has a very small heart. And he's obviously not concerned about the problems because he's busy conducting his rallies. And you just spoke about Bengal, where I think the Prime Minister should have behaved a little responsibly. When the Chief Minister is saying, curtail the rallies, let's have one phase of elections. Prime Minister should have immediately joined in. But obviously he's not. He's more interested in his party winning elections than the larger good of the state or the center. And I think we are, as a people, we are facing the brunt of Mr. Modi having become the Prime Minister.
Sir, you've again made a very political statement at a time when I say that every single person is to blame, because COVID was there even before the first phase had started. COVID was there even before Puducherry voted, Tamil Nadu voted, Kerala voted. At all points in time, COVID was still there, but everybody looked the other way. Everybody went out to show and flaunt their numbers on their social media handles when they went out campaigning, irrespective of political parties. They've all done it. We've all done it. We've all gone ahead and broken COVID norms. Now the point is we are at a point where we are suffering. So can we stop this and can we work together? That's the question. Sardar RP Singh, I wish you well, and I wish you and your loved ones well, and I hope they all get well soon. We don't need more people falling ill.
We'll fight it back. My family will fight it back. The nation will fight it back. Even the Congress party will fight it back with us. Let them not fight with us. Yeah. Let's fight together as a nation, not Congress and BJP against each other.
Well, that attitude is there, reflective of on the street, where the IYC, BJYM and also Aam Aadmi Party cadre, they are all working together to save lives. When it comes to humanity, everybody can drop the politics and work, and I hope that we are able to keep that spirit up and help each other out, because everybody is in trouble, and this time around it is affecting everybody. It's right at our doorstep, far more than wave 1, and we all know that. Brijesh Kallappa, RP Singh, thank you very, very much. Meanwhile, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, the idea is that we've got to work together. We can keep finger pointing at each other, but are we wanting to work together and are we wanting to help? That's the big aspect. And as the capital continues to battle the acute shortage of oxygen, the Delhi High Court has directed the centre to ensure supply and transportation without any hindrance. The court has asked the centre to provide adequate security to lorries carrying the oxygen and create special corridors. The High Court has warned that non-compliance of orders would be viewed seriously, as it would result in grave loss of life and would invite criminal action. Anusha Soni now joining us with more details. Anusha, clearly court after court is now trying to pass its strictures because it is under pressure and people are approaching the high courts for court orders. But there is also the danger of judicial overreach, because these are all aspects of the executive. Somewhere perhaps that's why the Supreme Court taking suo motu cognizance and asking the centre to provide a proper plan.
Well, Anand, I must say it's a commendable job that high courts like Delhi High Court have done in ensuring that oxygen supply reaches some very critical, scenarios that have emerged here in the national capital. About 8 hospitals have moved the Delhi High Court in the last 24 to 48 hours. First, it was the Max Group of hospitals. The day before, it was Gangaram Hospital. And today, one again, Saroj Hospital has moved the Delhi High Court because oxygen is running in short supply. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who is appearing for the central government, has assured the Delhi High Court that the central government is taking all the steps to ensure that oxygen supply reaches here in the national capital. As we speak at the Delhi High Court, it is being discussed what the Indian Railways can do, what are the green corridors that can be provided, what is it that the Delhi government has demanded, and what is it that the central government is doing in terms of augmenting the oxygen supply. The central government once again has reiterated before the Delhi High Court that in terms of procurement of the oxygen and its supply to the various state governments, that discretion should lie with the central government, because states cannot be managing it on their own. We spoke about the Supreme Court hearing today. At the Supreme Court today, the court was rather far more worried about the fact that there is no national action plan in place. And that is why amicus curiae was appointed. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said they'll come forward and present everything that they have planned so far. But none of the high courts have been restrained from hearing this matter. That is why Bombay High Court, Karnataka High Court, Delhi High Court, all those 3 hearings are underway right now.
Well, thanks for your inputs. More news coming through now. There is an SOS letter that has now gone from Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia to the Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan, saying at least 5 hospitals in Delhi have exhausted their oxygen supply. That's what he said across a red alert, that at least 5 hospitals have exhausted their oxygen supply, and that means there are lives at stake and there is a huge level of criticality, even though there are people who are saying just counting down the hours before then the oxygen supplies reach. Rupashri Nanda now joining us. Rupashri, about 250 metric tons of oxygen is actually stuck between Haryana and UP. What is the status and how long before it reaches? Because this is now reached a level of criticality.
Well, absolutely, Anand. In fact, there are alarm bells ringing both within the various hospitals and also within the Delhi government. Now, in that letter that Manish Sisodia has written to Union Health Minister Harshvardhan, he has mentioned 6 hospitals in which he said that oxygen levels are exhausted, and these are essentially hospitals like the Rathi Hospital, Sarut Super Speciality Hospital, which again approached the High Court today, Shanti Mukund Hospital, Tirath Ram Shah Hospital, and UK Nursing Home. Apart from that, he has also said that other hospitals like DLK, Indraprastha, Apollo, they have oxygen supply only for 4 hours. Holy Family has hospital oxygen supply only for 2.5 hours. That is 2.5 hours. And this was the position at around 1 p.m. It is already, it was a few hours have passed after that. So essentially, the Manish Sisodia is reiterating whatever he had said in his press conference before, that supplies from UP and Haryana, which are absolutely critical for the functioning of Delhi government hospitals or all the hospitals in Delhi, have to be ensured and have to be smooth. And he has mentioned 2 instances of inox and liquid air liquid 2 plants, in which both one in Haryana and one in Uttar Pradesh, where according to the supplier themselves, the supplies were not allowed to reach the national capital, which is why today
but there seems to be a certain
critical
level because we have Anil Vij tweeting right now saying that for every 1 tanker for Haryana, 2 tankers for Delhi are being filled. So are they in transit? Is there a lag between the update that we are putting out and what the situation on ground is? One has to see. Let us just hope. We are at 5:22 as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, that by 6 p.m. or 6:30, a lot of the hospitals which are really struggling get a certain level of the oxygen supplies to tide over, and then there is a relay which happens so that this entire demand for about 700 metric tons or somewhere at least close to 500 metric tons of oxygen is reached out to those who require in the national capital region. Rupashri, thank you for your inputs. Meanwhile, amid this entire oxygen crunch, India's top medical minds, Dr. Naresh Trehan, Dr. Randeep Guleri and Dr. Devi Shetty have urged citizens not to rush to hospitals, adding that patients must check their oxygen saturation levels and take oxygen only after the doctor's advice. And most importantly, when you look at that oximeter and look at the SpO2 levels, if you are above 90, you do not need to worry. It is when it slips below 90, between 80 and 90, that's when the criticality happens, and that's when the need for oxygen comes. But if you're at 90, 92, don't rush for oxygen, don't rush to the hospital. Listen in.
Please stay at home. Isolate yourself. That's very, very important. Wear a mask and check your oxygen saturation every 6 hours with your own pulse oximeter. And after you check it, again walk for 6 minutes, and then again you check your oxygen saturation. If your oxygen saturation is staying above 94%, no problems. So before I end my talk, I just want to let you know that it doesn't matter whether you're 100% certain that the fever or a body ache, what you have is not due to COVID. Never rest assured. Because today, as far as doctors like me are concerned, any patient complaining of anything in their body is COVID unless proven otherwise.
Today, we have enough oxygen if we try to use it judiciously. We don't want to waste oxygen. So the protocols for oxygen use and the response to what level we want the oxygenation in the patient to be, and the fact that I would like to inform the public also that if you don't need it, don't use it just for a security blanket. If you are not using it and you are walking around or eating or something, switch off the oxygen. We are giving the same advisory to doctors and to hospitals also, that judicious use of oxygen most definitely should be done, and any patient who needs it should get it. So wastage will only lead to depriving some people of this oxygen, which you should be, as individuals, as citizens, have a collective responsibility that we do not want to get into that stage where we feel responsible for being selfish in wasting something and depriving somebody else. So the beds situation in India, a lot of expansion of capacity has been done in the last year. We are also more capacities to be added.
I do agree, and this is very important for those who have oxygen or need oxygen. Oxygen is a treatment. It's like a drug. And therefore, it's very, very important for us to understand that one of the treatment for COVID-19 is to give oxygen if you need it. And in many lung diseases, when you have pneumonia, when you have chronic lung disease, when your saturation falls, oxygen is a treatment that is given sometimes for a short duration, but sometimes people are on long-term oxygen therapy if their lungs are bad. because of a chronic lung disease. Now, an important issue here is that taking oxygen intermittently. Your saturation is all right, but you say, okay, let me take oxygen for half an hour after my meals, or if I take oxygen for a few hours in the day, my saturation goes up and I'm feeling better, and I should therefore continue oxygen, is actually a waste of oxygen. There is no data to show that this will be of any help to you, and therefore this is something that you should not do. Many patients have started keeping oxygen cylinders at home and have started taking it for half an hour, 2 hours. That itself is more harmful and is actually again denying oxygen to people who actually need it.
We're going to take a very, very short break, but on the way out, we present an insightful talk by a renowned oncologist, Dr. Meenu Walia. She will be talking about the significance of early diagnosis and staging of lung cancer. Dr. Meenu will also focus on the different stages of lung cancer and what does an advanced stage of cancer mean. This lung cancer awareness is issued in public interest by AstraZeneca Pharma India Limited.